This is a condensed overview of Pascal's wager and my rebuttal of the top criticisms of this argument in 5 minutes or less. This is Blaise Pascal. He was a French polymath, someone who did a lot of things very well. He was a mathematician, physicist, inventor, writer. Being a Christian apologist, Pascal created a Christian argument for the belief in God, an argument aimed at atheists to save our immortal souls. He addresses this concept to the one who is so made that he cannot believe. This argument is around what happens after death. Let's talk through 4 of the outcomes as outlined in Pascal's wager. Option 1 and 2 posit that God doesn't exist, meaning the end result is the same for either. Option 1, you believed. I mean, you really believed. You went to church every week, acted in a very Christian way, but still nothingness. Alternatively, option 2, so you were a heathen, a non-believer, part of the disenfranchised masses. You could have lived a good life, helping little old ladies across the road for instance, acted in a kind and compassionate way, or been very, very nice, but it doesn't matter, as there's no God. This is where it gets interesting, to the third outcome. In this one, God exists, and you believed. You're kicking back with Jesus in heaven. It's described by many theologians as incomprehensible to human brains. As with many things in life, I've removed a reference to hell, so my image of heaven, as I like to think of it, my happy place. The fourth option, God exists and you didn't believe, you're going to hell. I mean literal, biblical hell. Lakes of fire, brimstone, torture. Picture the carnage. This is the worst possible outcome. I'm sure you get the picture, but as I don't think I've quite used 1,000 words, to keep up with the movie references, here's a vision fell from Little Nicky. So essentially life after death then is a coin toss. Although the most important coin toss of your life. The outcomes where God doesn't exist leads to the same nothingness, but the ones in which he or she, or it, not quite sure on the correct pronoun, does exist, you had better have believed, or no dessert for you. So let's commence with a few of my key objections to Pascal's wager. Not an exhaustive list by any means, but I want to keep the video brief. Humans have evolved over the course of, by most estimates, around 250,000 years, and I appreciate without understanding of key truths we now know about the world, it would be a very different place. Can you imagine someone having an epileptic seizure in 500 BCE before an understanding of the condition? War, turmoil, famine, natural disasters? Is it any wonder that people turned to something that gave them hope, solace, even if it did come cloaked in dogma and insipid subjugation? So the circular argument of belief goes something like this. God exists because the Bible says God exists, and since God wrote the Bible, it must be true. This argument is problematic from a purely logical standpoint, since it bases belief in God's existence on the Christian belief that the Bible comes from God. I'm not just singling out Christianity here, although that's the one that Pascal based his initial wager on. Insert many other religions here, any one of them that says that belief in God is based on some ancient text that you must believe to be true. This brings me to my second point. Any evidence that you can provide would also be provided for the other faiths with similar creation myths and circular arguments. Very similar in the case of the other Abrahamic religions. What makes you so sure that the Christian faith is the right one? Thousands of gods have fallen by the wayside. You don't believe in Zeus or Odin, and before you say these are just myths, people have believed and still do believe these gods are true. But what about the more mainstream religions? Let's talk about the largest religions on the planet. You fundamentally can't be a Muslim and a Christian and a Hindu. The religions aren't compatible. They are mutually exclusive. Imagine a conversation between two religious people, one a Christian, one a Muslim. Each is so sure that they're right, so sure that they're going to their mutually exclusive heaven. How would you be sure? They are wrong and you're right. How can you be so sure when they speak with just as much conviction about the miracles that they've witnessed and the faith that they have? All this talk of numbers brings me to my next point. Pascal's wager is a product of gain from a certain belief and probability that yours is the correct one. In Pascal's reasoning, a 50-50, but as mentioned above, the probability is much less. Given the increased number of available equal true religions, this leads us to a conclusion that we should pick the religion with the worst hell and the greatest heaven. Torments and evils of some of these religions go well beyond Dante's imagination. Then why not play for the fences? Go for the religion with the best upside whilst avoiding the largest downside. Finally, why should it be based on belief rather than acts of kindness and the love and compassion that you share? Why does this God, all-seeing power, care what I believe? Why is belief important? To me, your only aim is to act kindly to other people. Treat other people as you would expect to be treated. Leave this world in a better position for the future generations. This is my first video. I'd appreciate any feedback. Leave it in the comments section below or message me directly.